when we decided that it's no longer going to control our lives, that we decided that things were going to become better for us. And I remember specifically that I felt imprisoned by this. And I remember specifically that I declared this was not going to happen anymore. Welcome, and go ahead and check in. Welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. I'm your host, Araujo, and today we got a very important topic that I wanted to discuss because I think we all need reminders. We all need a direction, right, of what to do, especially if you've only recently owned your own business during a crisis. I think it's very important you stay connected more now than ever. And I'm going to repeat that. If you're a business owner, which you are, it is more important now to be connected than ever. It's real easy to go down this path of uncertainty, right? Going down this path that it's only going to get worse from here. And you know, there's some truth to that. There might be some situations where this crisis does get worse for us. And what we have to do is continually focus on the things that we can do, the things that we can control. A lot of anxiety and stress comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. Understand that in this situation that we're all in, we're all going to feel the effects of it. Some of us are going to feel more of it than others. But I think if we just go through a process of simple reminders of the personal crisis we've been through, whenever we run into an economic crisis or a health crisis like we're going through now, it'll allow us to position ourselves to win, to position ourselves to come out better out of this than we did before. Now, this weekend, I spent a lot of time on social media, and my iPhone reminded me, right? I spent a lot of time on my phone. And I don't know if it was wasted time. I think I was garnering a lot of information. I was doing a lot of research. I was on YouTube a lot, trying to just consume a lot of great content, right? And I also spent some time posting things and posting the family. But I made a conscious effort, a conscious decision that after this crisis is done, I will come out stronger, period. I will come out better, period. Now, we're all going to face some type of financial stress, all right, coming out of this. We will. No one's necessarily going out there on the masses and doing what they were doing prior to this crisis. So one thing that I want you to consider is that we're all going to feel the pinch, okay? And some of us may feel it a little more than others. There was a quote that I shared to everybody that Carla put out there, right? And it just reminded me of how important it truly is to stay focused during this time. And let me see if I can find it. It says, "Don't wait until the storm passes. You will sit in regret when the sun rises." Don't wait until the storm passes. You will sit in regret when the sun rises. And I thought that was just such a powerful way to look at things. Because when we're in this place of unknowing, right, of fear, the first thing as humans we tend to do is either, go into the fight or flight decision-making, response. And one of the things that I've learned is that, through the conditioning that I've done over the years, through my own personal experiences, I'm more likely to fight as my first instinct than it is to hesitate. I am more likely to strike than it is to take a step back. And that's been a conditioning process that I've experienced through many, many years of my own personal crisis. This past weekend, I put up a post on Facebook, and I shared, to ask people to share what their tattoos mean to them. And my original tattoo was the one inside my arm, and it shows Archangel Michael, striking what I consider, the demons, right? Complacency, mediocrity, temptation. And other people started sharing. There was one individual that was a Marine, I believe, and he was at war. And he had a phoenix on his arm. I, too, have a phoenix on my arm. And he started describing what that tattoo meant to him. And there was this confidence, this certainty and this tone that he set when he put this down. And it took me back, right? Because I too, and he was injured. He was shot in combat. And he told the story of what the Phoenix meant to him. And it took me back, all the way back when I was 17 years old. When I too was shot, not in combat. I was shot due to being a knucklehead, right? And living a reckless life. Those are the facts. That's what happened. And I almost bled out. But it wasn't necessarily the incident that left these lasting effects. It was the recovery. That was the hardest part. The incident was painful. The recovery was, oh my gosh, it was miserable. So many times I just sat there and I prayed and I was like, why? Why did you decide to save me? Why? Right? And oftentimes I would be in this place of sadness, of victim, of being the victim in the situation. Sometimes I'd be angry. I'd be angry at the individuals that did this to me. I'd be frustrated. But what ended up happening was what I had to face many years afterwards. I was only 17 years old. It was the post-traumatic stress triggered by this event. And I would constantly get these flashbacks. Like I would be in the middle, like the social anxiety was through the roof. I went through a good 2 years without being comfortable in crowds. Even my own family, I was just like on edge. My heart was constantly beating. And it got severe at some points, right? And these thoughts of uncontrollable. I would hear a loud noise and all of a sudden I'm like put back right in that situation of when I got shot and I almost died. And this lasted many, many years. And, we all, after these personal crises, we all have decisions to make, right? Time does heal wounds, but for some, it never ends because we continue to play the thoughts over and over and over and over again that we never let it die. And I was in that position for a few years where I just kept on replaying it. Then I started seeing from a different perspective. I started seeing all the beauty of this life, all the beauty of this world, and ultimately the second chance that I had. Right? And as we're going through this crisis, I want you to think about the specific times you've been through a personal crisis. Because if you really think about it, at the moment you allowed yourself to see that as a positive is when you started growing exponentially. When we decided that it's no longer going to control our lives, that we decided that things were going to become better for us. And I remember specifically that I felt imprisoned by this. And I remember specifically that I declared this was not going to happen anymore. And the moments of flashbacks, the severe anxiety, the nightmares started dwindling away. So when we face an economic crisis like we are, or a health crisis like right now, most people are thinking back to what happened in 2008, where money was scarce, right? Where like many families, vast majority of families lost their houses. There was massive foreclosures. And if you were in business, you were out of business. And the ramifications ensued for years thereafter. Years. And I think this is what a lot of people are fearing right now, because it's kind of fresh. Even though it was more than a dozen years ago, for some people, they've been living in this fear and anxiety for the years. They never let it die. I let it die in 2008. And some people were living through this even before this crisis. So right now, the fear is rampant. The thoughts are vivid of how things were. They're so vivid, we feel like we're in it again. When we take a step back, we realize it's nothing. Nothing is the same. But from every crisis that I've been through personally, and some of you, I've heard your stories. What an incredible life. For you to still have a smile on your face. What an incredible journey. This crisis is temporary. But if we fall victim to the noise, we will bring every crisis we've overcome and see it as the present, which will make getting ourselves out of this even more difficult. The post-traumatic of 2008 lasted many, many years for a lot of us. I couldn't really do anything until just a few years ago, where I had to could use my credit because it was so shot. So it's not necessarily what happens during these times, it's what we're able to do. So when the sun rises, we're not sitting in regret. And this is where I'm asking you to rise with me. Because this is nothing greater than what you've been through already. It doesn't even compare. But we have to understand that the action starts today. And it continues. It doesn't stop just because the vast majority of individuals in our industry are stopping or hesitating. This is a prime opportunity for you to hone in on your skill sets, to put the systems you've been delaying into place. This is not what it was. And after every crisis, we never remain the same. I'll tell you what, the person I was as a 17-year-old, as a 20-year-old, facing the economic disaster in 2008 as a 30-year-old, very different than I am today. And I'm thankful for all those moments. And I was 29, not 30. But I'm very different today. I'm very different today because of those moments. What I first thought this was on this side here was a detriment. I was so conscious. For those of you that can't see what I'm showing my arm. And I have a 3-foot scar in the inside of my arm. And I remember as an 18-year-old kid how self-conscious I was about my arm. It was mangled. And it looks better now. My scars are not so vivid. They're not so fresh. I've built muscle around it. But it was a depleted, mangled arm for many years. But if I could get through that, I can get through anything, right? And those are the things that we have to continue to remind ourselves, that a crisis never leaves us the same. And I heard that as I was listening to a podcast. Actually, it was on Facebook by John Maxwell. He says a crisis never leaves us the same. Makes us better. But we can't sit here and wish things weren't like this, or things should go back the way they were, because I have news for you. They will never, ever go back to the way things were. This is a shift. You will either rise from this and become better, or you will not. But things will not remain the same. And out of this crisis, what you decide to do during this time will determine the success when the sun rises. Some of you will be in better health out of this, mentally stronger, systems implemented, stronger bonds with your kids, more certain, and others will not. And that's the unfortunate part. I had a conversation with one of our agents over the weekend. We went on a 4-mile run. And he starts talking about my demeanor, about the moves I'm making and continuing to make right now. And I sat back and I'm like, this is very different for me. Even though I'm in the same place as everyone else where this is unprecedented, I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm striking. Because every day I conditioned myself to win. Every day I conditioned myself to win. So when you condition yourself to win, what's going on around you, it doesn't matter. Because the confidence that ensues from that is you will win. You will make things happen. Things will turn in your favor. And there's no way you can lose doing the right things day in and day out. So guess what I'm doing during this time? The very same things I did when times were good. I didn't let up. Because I know the game of life. Peaks and valleys. But I also had a sense of appreciation. Because I learned from all my mistakes. And I have a gratitude for my perseverance, just like you should. You've been through it all and you're still here. But we have to be very intentional around this time. We can't sit on our hands. Because times like these will determine your true colors. And you have people watching you. Your kids are watching you. Your clients are watching you. And understand that this is only short term. We don't know how long. And it can last months. But how will you handle yourself? How will you handle yourself? And if you have this calmness within you, it's because you've conditioned yourself to do the right things over time. But here's the reality. Learn from this. It caught us all off guard. That's why it's considered a crisis. We didn't prepare for this. It caught us all off guard. But now you know what to do. Because the tide will turn. Things will change. The market will change. What are you going to do when times are good? But more importantly, what are you going to do right now? In these uncertain times. I know where I'm going. And I'm urging you. Because I understand what responsibilities lie upon you. This is not a time to shrink. This is a time for you to lead. You are a leader. And if you've been part of this brokerage for any time, you realize you have more within you. This is not a time to hold back. Become that valuable asset to everyone in your sphere. Let's rise together. Finally, understand that this may last a little longer for all of us, this uncertainty. But let's make the best of it. You have the tools to condition yourself to win. The same principles we've been teaching since day one. And I'm so thankful that I've been on that game for years. Because I hated being in a place where I had no direction. And all I did was delay the inevitable. But this is the time to strike. Opportunities will come from this. So what are you guys hearing? I want to thank you for joining me today. And I think it's very important we start looking at our own personal crisis, okay, and how we handled ourselves. And when we decided to overcome, things just changed for us. So yeah, everyone right now, it's like this mob. I was online, and I was on a real estate, which I tell you to stay off of, and I catch myself getting these messages from time to time. And it's like a mob out there, right? About how reckless people are. Somebody asked, is anybody doing open houses? And there was about 100 comments about how irresponsible and reckless and this and that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. These are the people that are terrified right now. These are the people that don't want anybody to make moves right now. Because if they're not making any moves, they don't want you to make it. Because that's not any more reckless than anybody standing on a Costco line with hundreds of people. But to them, that's the worst thing you can do because you're making moves in your business. Now, I'm not telling you to have any or refrain from having any. I'm saying that's your choice. Do it responsibly. But there's a mob out there that if you do anything that insinuates you working for your business, you leading from the front, just understand that you will need that thick skin because these guys cannot stop you from your resolve. All right, let's go ahead and go through. What are you guys hearing in this conversation? Fred, good morning. Isabel, Claudia, Cecilia, Rudy, what's going on? And we're going to have another 4-mile run. I'm thinking tomorrow. If anybody wants to join, this is about you and your pace. This is about doing what most won't do. You're more than invited. We can meet off of one of the parks here and do a 4-mile run. But this is something that I am going to get better. And one final story here before I let you go. And I think there's a lot of lessons to this. We ended up doing a 4-mile run just this past Saturday. And right from the very beginning, Jesse Abarca, one of our agents here, just was already 2 blocks ahead. As soon as we started, he's kind of just bolted out. And you know, there's a lot to that, right? Because him and I would constantly be in this place where we're kind of running together because we were at that level at that time. But I can't expect to run at that level. What I realized is watching Jesse go from 2 blocks to 3 blocks to a half a mile ahead to a point where I can't see him. I have to realize that that was a conditioning process he did. Even though at one time him and I were at that same level. He's done things during the last few months that I haven't. He's ran over 100 miles. Training for an Ironman. So there's no way I can be at that level. I can't even keep up with him. And it's not because I got any worse. He gets better. And that's what's going to happen during this time. You deciding to train your brain, train your mind, okay, and your skill sets. Doesn't mean anybody's going to get better, any worse. It means you get better. And when I said things will never remain the same, you will either get better or in business, you will not. And watching him do that really made me appreciate what the work does. So think about this. For a lot of people, right now, you may be ahead of the competition. You may be that player right now. But there's a lot of people behind the scenes right now putting in the work, unafraid to put themselves out there, unafraid to lead. There's going to be many instances that the people that looked up to you, you're now thinking like, how in the hell did you do it? This is the time, right now. Because all those miles that he put in the work were very relevant and were very visible in this run. So I hope you guys got what I was intending to convey on that one. But let's go back and let's go to Liz. Good morning, Patrick, Gabe, Noemi, Lonnie, Cindy. Good morning, Michelle, Mario. What's going on, my brother? Rosie. Guys, like I'm inviting you to come with us. And I'm thinking tomorrow's going to be the day. So I'm going to proclaim it today. 4 miles tomorrow. And this is run at your own pace. I don't care if you haven't ran. We had one individual that hasn't ran in 5 years, but he got it done. And you should have seen his energy afterwards. Right? The pain, it didn't matter. It was what he felt afterwards. So I'm going to invite you. If you're interested, I'm going to put another invite and I'll give you more instructions. Christina, Carla, good morning. Nick, Caroline, Ruth, Felipe. Ruth, that was a power story from him. Yes, it was. Susan, Kimberly. Yeah, and you're talking about that soldier, right? Amazing. Yeah, he had right in the middle of combat, and he has risen like the phoenix. We love you, Dad. This is Abigail and Madeline. We are watching you. That's awesome. Melts my heart. Thank you, baby girls. Audra, good morning. Jermaine, just give me my marching orders. I don't fear this. It's beautiful. Conditioning process, though, Jermaine. Amazing, right? It's absolutely amazing how it feels. And there's confidence, almost like a favor that I feel that I have. And it's because I've done the right things for myself and for other people. There's no way this can bring me down or this is going to stop me. So let this be a lesson to all of us. We got to continue on that path of growth and expansion, because it will very much become survival of the fittest. Caroline, agreed. We grow with every experience. What's going to be the new normal? Whatever it will be, I will be in the flow. Rudy, we will come out stronger when the dust settles. That's a conviction, right? That's a proclamation. And we have to continue to remind ourselves. And one big reminder is to stay connected here. It's a lot, because with all that noise out there, understand that the people that you know and that you love the most are not in your situation. Most people are not entrepreneurs. Most people are not 100% commission based. They don't know what it feels like. So sometimes we need our own community to just bounce back this energy and say, it's going to be okay. You're going to be just fine. Just keep doing what's been proven to work. Power, purpose, profits. Teresa, good morning. Isela, we're watching you, Dad. Thank you. Yesenia, we can't stay stagnant. Ain't that the truth? Jessica, to me, it's a blessing in disguise. All the other realtors are letting off the gas pedal. Meanwhile, I'm full throttle and taking their clients. And this is where most businesses, and I'm not saying, do this out of malice. You're going to be doing this out of leadership. This is where most businesses get their share, their market share. It's not when things are good that market share is necessarily gained. It's when there's a crisis. It's when people let off the gas pedal. And I'm not saying it's not okay to feel all these uncertainty, the feelings of uncertainty. What I'm saying is take the action to overcome those thoughts. Cindy, don't make the molehills into unnecessary mountains. We will overcome. Caleb and I are in for the run. Awesome. So we got our first 2 participants. And I went out and bought some shoes, right? The same shoes that Jesse had. He's gloating about how fast it makes him feel. And I know it has nothing to do with the shoes. It was the conditioning. It was the hundreds of miles that he's ran since then, since we both started running together, right? But it's real easy to say, oh, it's this system, then I'll run at that level, right? We've all been there. Hey, if I buy this program, then I'll run at that guy's level. No. It's him doing the things that most won't do when no one is watching, right? Those late night runs, those painful runs. That's how he got there. And that's how you will get there in this business. And I love it. This is going to be a great opportunity for all of us, guys. Because things will not be the same. We don't want them to be the same. We cannot go through all this anguish and come out the other side the same. We will overcome, like Cindy said. We will be stronger. Patrick, we have to keep pushing no matter what. Our clients will react to our confidence level in person or over the phone. They are watching and listening. How powerful is that? Yesenia, yes, prepare for a good 4 months. Look into your assets. Refinance as soon as possible to prepare yourself. Act quickly and act wisely. Is how my family survived 2009 through 2012. Understand that even though the market fell in 2008, all of us felt the ramifications all the way through to about 2012, 2013. So we have to prepare for that. But there was a market. Most couldn't see it because they were paralyzed by the fear. Be safe. I showed 3 family homes this weekend. I'm wearing gloves. Get down with hand sanitizer. I ask my clients not to touch anything and stand far apart. You still can work, just do it the smart way. That is experience through and through. Yes, guys, we need to prepare for this. So she has great advice. If you have credit cards, hey, pull out a few credit lines because it might get ugly. We don't know yet, but it's better to be prepared. That line of credit on your home, maybe it's a good idea. Just so you're not on this constant state of anguish, right? Being financially strapped during this time makes things a lot harder. It's hard to think positive. It's hard to go out there and stay motivated. So that's great advice. That's what I had to do. Because there's no other way I could have done it without that. But I wasn't going back, and I wasn't going to shrink. I maxed out every credit card that I could the last time this happened. I'm better prepared now. I'm so thankful. Guys, I can't tell you how much appreciation I have for the courage I had during this time. And I think we all need to reflect and have that same appreciation for ourselves. But it doesn't mean that you're going to get out of this business. It doesn't mean we're going to shrink. You do what Yesenia just mentioned. You do what it takes. Credit cards, credit line, just in case. But you don't stop the work. Can we include a walk for those of us that can't run 4 miles? Absolutely. It's run at your own pace. This is not a race against each other. It's about pushing ourselves when our mind wants to shut down. So absolutely, Ruth. Jasenia, I showed homes all weekend, and I can see the people in their homes cleaning their yards, giving me the eyes, but I just got to do me and what is best for my family. I carry hand sanitizer with me and offer it to my client when we walk out of every home. Absolutely. Responsible. And guess what? You're going to get that mob out there that doesn't want to see you rise, Yesenia. So they're going to make the little comments. You do it responsibly. And these are the same people that are saying how reckless you are going to the grocery store every day. Even though they have all the products they need, they're still there every day just in case. They're standing in all these big lines. They're ordering food online. I mean, come on. You don't know. It's just frustrating, right? But don't let them get to you. Keep doing what you're doing. Guys, stay connected, okay? Just stay connected. I'm here. I put out a post that if you have a deal that's about to cancel, reach out to one of us, one of our experienced agents. Reach out to Zaysenia, reach out to Ruben, reach out to Craig, reach out to myself, to DB. Let's keep these deals together because they need you to lead. Don't let this temporary scare take them away from a great opportunity. There was one client last week that wanted to cancel. They had locked in a 3% rate. Are you kidding me? They're a trucker. There is no shortage of employment. Like, what is it called? There's no way that industry is going to go away. So in bigger demand now than ever before. So stay connected. Let's lean on each other, because we can crawl into this little hole and be in an island all by ourselves if we don't. So thank you to everyone that joined me and that contributed with their clients and their experience. Thank you so much. Guys, have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great week. Talk to you soon.